by.
Good evening, and welcome to Wednesday, October 5th, 2016. It is the regular meeting for the Ottawa City Commission. Could I have a roll call, please?
Mayor Kaler,
Present.
Commissioner Reed, Commissioner Graves,
Present.
Commissioner Jorgensen,
Present.
Commissioner Skidmore,
Present.
Everyone is here except for Commissioner Reed, and she is representing the City Commission at another function, but she will join us shortly. I want to welcome everybody who is listening or here in the audience. Certainly listening through many of the venues that we have for you to listen and participate as an active citizen. We appreciate you tuning in to your City Commission meeting. We're going to begin tonight with a Pledge of Allegiance, and then we will follow by the invocation by Pastor Ron Glavin of Westminster Presbyterian. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. God of all creation, we thank you for this day and for the many blessings each of us has received. We thank you, O God, for the ability to use our minds to discern your will and work to create a strong and healthy Ottawa community. We thank you for our community and all who serve it, for those who teach and those who protect, for those who clean and those who repair, for those who work in parks and those who work on roads, for those who plan and those who make plans happen, for those who heal and those who counsel, for those who govern and those who elect, for all, O God, who live into the best example of what it means to be a citizen of our community. We pray for all in our community who serve in our police department and our fire department. We pray for these and all the needs of our larger community. Lord, hear our prayers. As this meeting begins this evening, we pray for each person here, for our mayor, for our commissioners, for our support staff, for our city manager. We pray, O God, that you will give each person here clarity of mind, creativity, compassion, due diligence, integrity, and a sense of humor. Give them, O God, listening ears and thoughtful words. Give them presence of mind and an open heart. And all God's people said, Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. We appreciate you being here this evening. That is going to move us on to the consent agenda, which is items 6 and 7 on the agenda, which include minutes from the September 12, 2016 and September 19, 2016 study session, September 12, 2016 special call for leadership session, September 21st regular meeting, and corrected minutes from the September 7th regular meeting. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner,
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
is there a second?
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. That moves us on to the regular agenda. Do we have anybody who's listed for public comments today?
No.
None at this time. Then we will not read the paragraph that is attached to our agenda. This moves us on to declaration. At this time, I'd like to give commissioners a chance to declare any conflict or communication that might influence their ability to consider today's issues impartially. Commissioners?
Mayor Kaler,
Yes.
I will be reclusing myself for items 12 and 13 of the agenda. Although it's not a conflict of interest due to the letter of the law, it may have the appearance of a conflict of interest, so I will be leaving the room while you discuss these items.
Okay. Commissioners, is there any additional declaration that we need to make? We appreciate you doing that in a transparent manner. Thank you, Commissioner Jorgensen. That moves us on to new business.
Proclamation recognizing Ottawa High School Wall of Honor Days.
Proclamation honoring 2016 inductees Brigadier General Glenn Jamison of the 1918 class, Terry Wallen of the 1964 class, and Ron Small of the 1982 class. Candy Campbell, OHS Wall of Honor Coordinator, and Michelle Gray will be here too, and are here, to accept the proclamation. And the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas, it still reads whereas. Whereas the Renaissance program of Ottawa High School created a Wall of Honor in the spring of 1997 to recognize special graduates of Ottawa High School who graduated at least 10 years earlier. And whereas the school board of the USD 290 approved this project in the spring of 1997 and thereby made the Wall of Honor the greatest recognition which Ottawa High School can bestow on a graduate. And whereas the 2016 group of inductees include Brigadier General Glenn Jamison, OHS 1918, Terry Wolin, OHS 1964, and Ron Small, OHS 1982. And whereas these inductees will be honored at a banquet on Thursday, October 6, 2016, and officially inducted at halftime at the OHS football game on Friday, October 7th, 2016. Now, therefore, the governing body of the City of Ottawa, Kansas, does hereby proclaim October 6th and 7th, 2016 as Ottawa High School Wall of Honor Days and encourages all citizens to join in honoring these three outstanding individuals who graduated from Ottawa High School. Signed this the 5th day of October, 2016 by the Mayor. Would you like to come forward, Mrs. Campbell? Come on up, we have to take a picture. I know, right? All right.
Shake hands.
Yeah, we have to look like we're shaking hands. Good, thank you. Please address us.
City Commissioners, we would like to thank you for your continued support of the program. This is our 20th banquet that we would be having this year. And I think that shows a lot to the community when the city and the county support the local events, not only of the high school, but other organizations that we have in town. And so we just want to say thank you for your continued support over the years, and I know we'll have it in the future. So thank you guys very much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Next, that brings us on to number 11 on the agenda.
Proclamation recognizing October as Community Planning Month.
Community Planning Month is an opportunity to publicly recognize the dedication of the Planning Commission members, as well as highlight the importance of sound planning and plan implementation. John Boyd, Planning Commission Chairperson, will accept this proclamation, and it will be read by Commissioner Skidmore.
I have it right here. Whereas change is constant and affects all cities, towns, suburbs, counties, rural areas, and other places, and whereas community planning and plans can help manage this change in a way that provides better choices for how people work or play and live. And whereas community planning provides an opportunity for residents to be meaningfully involved in making choices that determine the future of their community. And whereas the full benefits of planning requires public officials and citizens who understand, support, and demand excellence in planning and plan implementation. And whereas the month of October is designated as National Community Planning Month throughout the United States of America. And whereas the American Planning Association and its professional institute, the American Institute of Certified Planners, endorsed the National Community Planning Month as an opportunity to highlight the contributions, sound planning, and plan implementation that make it to be a quality of our settlements and environment. And whereas the celebration of National Community Planning Month gives us the opportunity to publicly recognize the participation and dedication of the members of the planning commissions. Rich Powers, Kimber Korn, Bill Crowley, John Boyd, Jack Maxwell, Betty Beerzer, Rick Oglesby, and other citizen planners who have contributed their time and expertise to this improvement of the city of Ottawa. And whereas we recognize the many valuable contributions made by professional community and regional planners of the city of Ottawa and extend our heartfelt thanks for the continued commitment to public service by these professionals. Now therefore, the governing body of the City of Ottawa, Kansas does hereby proclaim October 2016 as Community Planning Month in the City of Ottawa in conjunction with the celebration of National Community Planning Month. Signed this 5th day of October 2016 by our Mayor, Sarah Kaler.
Mr. Boyd? Go. Shake and accept. Great, we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for this proclamation, and Commissioner Skidmore for reading that. I want to extend a thanks to the Planning Commission as well as staff to the City Commission for the recognition of their efforts on providing a safe and enjoyable community. I know that the staff works very hard on that. We've been lucky to have some new additions to the staff at our planning department as well as our planning commission over the last year. So I just want to again thank you so much for your recognition of our efforts, and I appreciate your continued support. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your service. That moves us on to item 12 on the agenda.
Request for approval of resolution authorizing the issuance and delivery of $530,000 of general obligation renewal temporary notes.
The maturing note was issued for the Ottawa Municipal Airport T-Hangar project. Kansas State Bank has bid to purchase the temporary notes. And it should be noted that Commissioner Jorgensen has left the room as he had indicated earlier in this meeting, and he will not participate in the vote. So we will have Tyler Ellsworth and David Arterberry come forward, and or maybe it's David Arterberry and Tyler Ellsworth come forward and explain to us what it is before us tonight.
Sure. I'll turn over to Tyler in just a minute, but to explain the documents that are in front of you, both item 12 and 13. But real briefly, as we talked about in the work session, the city has 2 temporary notes that were issued that are coming due. And tonight, basically, what you're doing is authorizing the reissuance of those notes or the renewal of those notes. One note was for $530,000 that was previously owned or is currently owned by Kansas State Bank. They have agreed to purchase the renewal note. The other note originally was sold through a public offering and purchased by a bank out of Kansas City. We took bids on this note, and Kansas State Bank also offered the lowest rate on this note. The $2 million note for the next item on your agenda, the $2 million note for the industrial park projects. So I'll turn it over to Tyler to explain to you a little bit about the documents in front of you.
I don't know if I'll have a soundtrack to accompany my presentation.
Wow. All of us could be so lucky.
That's right.
Tyler, can you tell us who you're with and how you may differ in this process between David and yourself? I know that might not be completely transparent to the community and a person who may be listening.
Sure. Thank you.
Great. Sorry I put you on the spot there.
No, that's fine. I'm Tyler Ellsworth with the law firm of Kutak, which is the city's bond counsel. David is with George K. Baum and Company, the city's financial advisor. And our roles differ in that our focus is helping the city issue debt in a way that complies with state and federal law. So it's a heavily regulated sort of sector of the economy. There are a lot of things to sort of I's to dot and T's to cross, and that's what we do as bond counsel at QTAC. David's role is more the numbers and making sure that things make financial sense for the city. So that's sort of how our respective roles differ.
Thank you for that
Yeah.
explanation.
Yeah. This evening, as David mentioned, there are 2 resolutions for the commission to consider. One renewing one note and a second action item for a separate vote by the commission, which will renew a second note. Essentially, what each of those resolutions does is authorize the city to issue debt to renew and refund outstanding debt, and it also formally accepts the bid or the offer of Kansas State Bank for each one of those debt issuances to purchase that debt. I did want to mention that there are just a couple slight changes in the form of the note resolution for each of the notes from the version that went out with the agenda packets last week. And those are mostly cleanup changes. I think the only change of significance is that and I think it was for the 2016-1 series, the hanger notes. We adjusted the interest payments so that instead of paying interest at one time at maturity, interest will be payable semi-annually. And that was something that staff had input on and that the bank, the purchaser, had input on. So I just wanted to bring that to the commission's attention.
And can you alert the listening public what that actual interest rate is that we have secured for this particular amount?
I will let Dave speak to that. I think it's,
Okay.
well, I'll let Dave
Yeah,
speak to that.
okay, good.
For the $530,000 note for the airport, it's 1.5%. For the larger $2 million note for the industrial park, it's 2%. The difference in the rate being is that the interest that's payable on the larger note is actually subject to federal income taxes, whereas the smaller note, that interest is not. When it's subject to federal taxes, bonds will typically, or notes will typically carry a little bit higher interest rate.
Other items that we should know about this particular request?
I don't think so, but I'm happy to answer any additional questions.
Sure. Commissioners?
I just have a simple question. I guess these rates, are these pretty much within the parameters of what you would expect and other municipalities are paying for money?
Yes, they are. Based on the structure of the notes and the rating of the notes, it's very consistent with what
Okay.
I'd expect.
Good, thanks.
Commissioners, any additional questions? I may want to point out that Commissioner Reed has joined us. We did inform the public on when we started that you would be joining us later, so I'm just letting the public know that you're here, so we're glad you're here. Oh, excellent, excellent. Well, that was nice. Other questions on the request for issuance of the 530,000 GO bonds for the Ottawa Municipal T-Hanger project? If not, I will entertain a motion if there is one.
Madam Mayor, I'll make the motion that we accept this request at number 12.
I'll
Okay.
second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the resolution authorizing the issuance and delivery of $530,000 of GEO renewal temporary notes for the Ottawa Municipal Airport T-Hanger project. Is there any discussion among commissioners? If not, we will proceed to vote.
City Attorney Finch, do I need to call Blake for the vote?
There's no need for you to call him. He's already indicated that he's recusing himself
Okay.
from the vote.
Thank you. How do you vote, Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Commissioner Graves?
Yes.
Mayor Kaler?
And I vote yes. Motion carries. That moves us on to item 13 on the agenda.
Request for approval of resolution authorizing the issuance and delivery of $2 million of general obligation renewal and improvement temporary notes.
The maturing note was issued for Rock Creek Business Park land acquisition and design costs for water and wastewater services. Kansas State Bank has bid to purchase the temporary notes. Again, we have Tyler Ellsworth and David Arterberry here to explain to us this request in front of us.
This request is essentially the same as the resolution you just considered. The difference is that the size of the par value of the note is different. The previous note was $530,000. This is for $2 million. It's for a different set of improvements, but essentially it's a very similar action.
I noticed that not only on 12, but on 13, we have the same exact bank that has agreed to purchase these notes. And can you tell me about your process in which you ask requests for proposals to, or Mr. Arterberry may be able to do that?
Sure.
Just to make sure that the public knows that we actually did do our due diligence.
Sure. For the first note, given the size of the note, which is fairly small, we thought the most cost-effective approach to selling these notes would be, instead of going through the time and expense of doing a bidding process on it, that it would be best just to go to the holder of the existing notes and see if they'd be interested in buying the new ones. And they said yes, and the interest rate that they offered, we felt, we looked at other sales of notes, and we felt that it was competitive and a good, fair interest rate. So that's the process we went to on the first note. On the second note, Again, since they weren't being held with a local institution, what we then did is we went through a process where we put together a bidding sheet and sent it out to a lot of regional banks. I think about 10 or 15 banks got it. There were 2 bids submitted, one by Kansas State Bank and one by Arvest Bank. And the Kansas State Bank offered a lower interest rate, so it was selected based on that.
Okay, all right, thank you. Commissioners, do you have additional questions for this request? Okay. If not, I will entertain a motion if there is one.
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner?
I would move to approve the resolution in item 13 to authorize the issuance and delivery of $2 million GO renewal and improvement temporary notes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion among commissioners?
I'll just say this, something inside me is tugging me not to say this, but I will anyway, but we do appreciate Kansas State Bank and their officers and directors in coming forward with this very promising and very well-priced notes.
I see a commercial in the making for Kansas State Bank. I'm just
I'll
saying.
have a disclaimer, but
Yeah.
I may need to
We
leave
were
it in
all
too.
here to hear it. You did get the disclaimer.
But I do mean that. That's good.
Any other discussion among commissioners? If not, I will call for a roll call vote, please.
How do you vote, Commissioner Graves?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Mayor Kaler?
And I vote yes, motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate it. Would somebody let Commissioner Jorgensen know that we're on to a new item of business? Okay. We're ready for item 14, if you'll give me just a second. So we'll be a full commission once again. All right, so item 14 on the agenda.
Request for approval of ordinance amending municipal code penalties for possession of marijuana.
This amends the municipal code to reflect changes in the Kansas state statute. Chief Dennis Butler will be addressing us on this matter.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Commissioners. The item before you involves a request to amend Municipal Code 16-309, and that involves the penalties for possession of marijuana that are described in Municipal Code 16-307 and 308. And this is being requested due to a change in the associated Kansas state statute. House Bill 2462 was enacted on July 1st, 2016, resulting in changes to possession of marijuana penalties described in state statute 215706. So I'll put this in plain English for you and our audience. What this means is before July 1st in the city, under the city code, the first conviction of possession of marijuana was a Class A misdemeanor, and a second conviction was a felony. What this change means is, as of July 1st, the first conviction is now a Class B misdemeanor instead of a Class A. The second conviction is now a Class A instead of a felony. And then a third conviction, which is not addressed by the code because it's a felony, is a felony. Do you have any questions about why we're bringing this request before you?
Commissioners, questions for Chief Butler?
I think, Chief, at the study session, you mentioned that this is a state-level code and that we need to comply or to make our restrictions equal to, or if not, less.
Our penalties can't be harsher
More hard, okay. I
than the
got
state code.
All right.
That's basically why we're here.
That's very good, okay.
Additional questions for Chief Butler? If not, is there a motion?
Well, Madam Mayor, I'll make that motion. Item number 14, to request this change.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the ordinance amending the municipal code penalties for possession of marijuana. Is there discussion among the commission? Okay, we will proceed to vote.
How do you vote, Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Commissioner Graves? Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Mayor Kaler?
And I vote yes, motion carries. Item 15 on the agenda, please.
Request for approval of ordinance authorizing and providing for the acquisition of land by condemnation.
This acquisition is for the purpose of sidewalk improvements in the vicinity of East 15th Street, including design and construction of new sidewalks, grading, and related improvements, and all other work that is necessary and incidental. We will have Blaine Finch, City Attorney, address us on this matter.
Madam Mayor and Commissioners, thank you for allowing me to speak for just a moment on this. I am going to make a rather unusual request of you tonight that you withdraw this from the agenda. Before we do an ordinance on a condemnation, we'd like to do a resolution first that allows for the legal description of the interest in the land to be condemned to be placed on file with the city clerk. You'll recall we did this earlier this year on another property on this same project. And in this case, we haven't got the resolution to you yet. You have the ordinance here tonight, and it is in order and ready to go, but we want to do that resolution first so we make sure we are in the proper order. Again, when we talk about condemning private property for a public purpose, we want to make sure that every possible constitutional safeguard is followed to favor the property owner before their interest in their land is condemned. So tonight, we would ask that you withdraw this from your agenda and allow us to get the resolution in front of you, and we will proceed apace to get that done. As soon as the resolution is done, we'll get the ordinance back in front of you and proceed with the process.
Since we've already approved our agenda, Mr. Finch, do we need to actually have a motion to do that, or just a consensus among?
I would prefer that someone make a motion to withdraw this from the agenda tonight, and that you can do it by voice vote. You don't need to do a roll call, but
Okay.
that we do that so we're following proper procedure.
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner.
I would move that we withdraw this ordinance from tonight's agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we remove this ordinance from our agenda tonight. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. On to item 16.
Request for approval of ordinance amending zoning regulation, Article 24, supplemental district regulations for ADA.
A public hearing was held on September 14, 2016 to review the proposed amendments. There were no public comments. The Planning Commission and City staff recommends approval of this amendment. And this will be presented to us by Mrs. Lee. Mrs. Lee, what do you have for us tonight?
Good evening, Mayor and
evening.
Commissioners. As we shared with you at the study session, this is actually a reinstatement of an ordinance that was originally adopted in 1993. I just told you in the 90s, I think, on Monday. But in 1993, an amendment was created at the time that allowed for ramps to come into a front or side yard setback, predominantly a front yard setback, because there are properties that are maybe they're already at their setback, their front porches, and so in order to get a ramp constructed, not always is there enough room on one side or another to construct said ramp. Sometimes ramps are there for a number of years, sometimes they're there for short term. It appears, from what we can discern, that in 2005, when we started considering new zoning ordinance, part of the language out of this original paragraph is there, but part was left off. Because a number of our staff has been long-term, the absence of that language wasn't discovered until earlier this year when our new staff actually disapproved a permit application for a front yard setback reduction for a ramp. And when I found out that had happened, I went, well, wait, they just didn't know where to go look for that regulation. And lo and behold, it was not there. However, since 2005, we've approved a number of these ramps because that was the original language in 1993, and we were unaware it wasn't in there. There's no interest on the part of staff, and clearly from the absence of public comment on the absence of the community members, to not allow those kinds of ramps in those situations. Sometimes porches are restored back, and sometimes, again, the ramp may remain there. But given the number of community members, as we continue to see the median age rise, who need those kind of accommodations, we would ask that you go ahead and amend the regulations to allow ramps in the front yard setback. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Commissioners, are there questions for Mrs. Lee?
Mayor Kaler,
Yes.
I move to approve the request for the ordinance as described in item 16 of the agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion among commissioners? If not, we will proceed to vote.
How do you vote, Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Commissioner Graves?
Yes.
Mayor Kayler?
And I vote yes, motion carries. That moves us on to a report by the city manager.
Good evening, Commissioners. I have one item, and I also have an unusual request for you tonight because of a timeliness that we need to deal with this item. As you know, we've been working with the school district and worked out an agreement where they would put out their 19th Street improvements, and including that improvement, a turning lane at 19th and Eisenhower. So they got those bids back, and our portion of those bids are $47,939. Now that's a little bit higher, I think, what, $12,000 higher than what we anticipated that would be, but we've already identified where we will pay this out of. It will likely come out of about 3 funds. We have a special project line item in the general fund. Some of these are stormwater improvements, so we'll pay those out of our stormwater utility. And if need be, we will take a portion out of our special highway. So we should be all right. We will be all right. But the school district will be approving these bids on Monday, is my understanding from Mr. Walker. So that's the reason I'm asking you to approve the move forward with this project.
Just a point of clarification, so this is on 19th Street going west as you approach Eisenhower, and then there'd be a left turn lane onto Eisenhower. They were
Yes.
expanding that road to cover that, okay. I just think this shows a great partnership with our school district, the city's been willing to do this, and so I'm very much in support of this.
Is this a vote that you actually need for us, or just a consensus among?
I would feel better if you go ahead and take a vote. It is a partnership with another governing body, and it's something that we work publicly to try to obtain. So I think, in all fairness to our citizens, we ought to have a vote.
It would give us the authority, it would give you the authority to sign the contract, correct? That's what the motion?
Right.
Okay.
And I suspect that, I don't know what they'll do, but if I were the school district, I would simply send the city a bill.
Is there a motion, Commissioners?
I would make that motion that we accept this responsibility to pay for this project. It's $47,939.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion among commissioners? I do think it shows great. I think that Commissioner Skidmore said it exactly right. It does show our ability to work with others and to work collaboratively to make it safer for our community. So that's a good thing. We will proceed with a roll call vote.
How do you vote, Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Commissioner Graves?
Yes.
Mayor Kayler?
And I vote yes, motion carries.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. I appreciate you giving us flexibility to work with the school district. And this is a good project. I don't think anybody will really understand the benefit of this project until that school is open and cars start and vehicles start being on those 2 roads. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next, that moves us on to reports by the city commissioners. I'm going to start with Commissioner Graves.
I don't have anything.
Commissioner Skidmore?
I have nothing.
Commissioner Reed?
Well, I did feel fortunate to be able to represent the city this evening, as you mentioned, at the Candlelight Vigil for Domestic Violence. You had signed that proclamation 2 weeks ago, and so it was nice to be able to represent us there. It's a great event. Chief Butler gave the opening comments and showed how much support the city and the county both have for that issue, and so I appreciated being able to do that. I hope that I'm not jumping the gun here by offering congratulations to the mayor, Sarah Kaler, and Larry B. Alexander for both receiving awards this past week, I believe, for the favorite community leader and favorite I don't know what Larry B's was. Was his also community?
Police officer.
It was a favorite award.
They were favorite awards. There you go.
Yes.
So congratulations. And that's all for me this evening.
Commissioner Jorgensen?
I guess thank you to Commissioner Reed for representing the city at the Candlelight Vigil. I was reminded the other day that I know an individual that is represented by these events and by the silhouettes that we've seen around town. About 18 years ago, I was at a wedding dance that my sister-in-law and brother-in-law were getting married, and one of her good friends, probably one of her best friends, was at the dance, and by the name of Phoebe Harkins, and her boyfriend was there as well, a fellow by the name of Todd Pabst. And it was about a year after this dance that Todd is actually Easter morning in 1998 that Todd killed Phoebe with a pistol. And what good came out of this, if you can find any good out of it, is that that the state legislature passed a law called, we called it Phoebe's Law. There's since been another law that has come out of that, but with that same name. But here in Kansas, it's where an individual who murders a child's parent cannot have, they sever the rights, the custody rights of the murdering parent. And so that was something that the legislature was able to see and to pass in this case. So Phoebe was a banker out in Colby, Kansas. I did not know her as a banker. I knew her as Tracy's best friend. So, but I appreciate you representing the city at this Candlelight Vigil.
Well said. Thank you, Commissioner Jorgensen. On to report by the mayor. I was present at the Best of Franklin County reception that was held last week, and I was proud to accept the award on behalf of the city, and I know it's a surprise to the commissioners, but certainly not a surprise to the listening public that Forest Park was voted the best place to hold an event in Franklin County, and we all know what a blessing we have in our park system, and Forest Park was certainly highlighted in there as one of the best of Franklin County, and I'm sure that we all, by consensus, agree with their vote. So thank you to the Ottawa Herald for highlighting the best of Franklin County. That concludes my report. I have a few announcements to give to you. This Friday, the Ottawa Police Foundation is holding a chamber coffee at Neosho County Community College at 8 a.m. October 8th through 10th, we will have several individuals represented from the City Commission, including our city manager, at the League of Kansas Municipalities annual conference in Overland Park. On October 10th, because of that annual conference, we have canceled our study session, but we will have a study session on the 17th of October, followed by our commission leadership session at 5 p.m. on that day. Hearing the announcements, and unless there's anything else that needs to come in front of us tonight, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam Mayor, I move we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.